There's something buried deep inside West African DNA that scientists never saw coming. A genetic imprint from a lost human species, one that has no name, no fossils, and no physical traces. Yet, its DNA still lives on in millions of people today. This discovery isn't just another piece of the human evolution puzzle. It's a revelation that forces us to rethink everything we thought we knew about our origins. For years, scientists believed that modern humans only interbred with Neanderthals in Europe and Denisovans in Asia. But what if I told you that deep in the heart of West Africa, our ancestors encountered an entirely different species of ancient humans, one that left behind genetic clues hidden in the blood of millions? The shocking part: this species was already walking the earth long before Neanderthals even existed. It all started when geneticists at UCLA studied the genomes of 405 West Africans from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. They expected to find familiar genetic patterns, but instead, they uncovered something no one had predicted. Inside these genomes were DNA fragments that didn't match Neanderthals or Denisovans. It was something older, something completely unknown. Scientists call it a ghost population, a vanished group of ancient humans that interbred with modern Homo sapiens tens of thousands of years ago. The evidence isn't in fossils or bones. It's written in the DNA of living people. This lost species is believed to have split from the human evolutionary tree between 360,000 and 1 million years ago, even before Neanderthals came into existence. Then, sometime between 43,000 and 124,000 years ago, this mysterious group encountered modern humans in West Africa. They didn't just coexist, they interbred. And today, up to 19% of the genetic material in West Africans can be traced back to this unknown species. But here's the real question: why does this DNA still exist? Usually, when two species mix, natural selection removes the weaker traits over time. But in this case, the genes of this archaic species were passed down for thousands of generations. That means some of these ancient genes might have given real advantages, possibly helping West Africans survive diseases, adapt to harsh climates, or develop stronger immune systems. Scientists are only beginning to understand how this ancient DNA affects people today. They've already found traces of archaic genes in tumor-suppressing DNA, metabolic functions, and even immune system responses. Could it be that this lost species played a key role in shaping human survival in Africa? But there's one big problem: we have no fossils. Unlike Europe and Asia, where cold climates preserved Neanderthal bones for thousands of years, Africa's heat and humidity destroy ancient remains before they can be studied. That's why, for so long, this entire part of human history remained invisible. But thanks to advanced genetic technology, scientists no longer need fossils to uncover history. DNA itself is now the key to unlocking our past. And here's where things get even more fascinating. This might be just a beginning. If one unknown species left its mark in West African DNA, how many more could still be hiding? Could there be other lost human species waiting to be discovered in our genes? Some scientists believe this is just the first glimpse of an even bigger, more complex human story. West African DNA holds secrets that could rewrite history. It tells a story that no bones or fossils ever could. A story of survival, adaptation, and the unknown chapters of our past. The question is, how many more forgotten ancestors still live within us? One thing is certain: we are only scratching the surface of a story that has been buried for thousands of years. For years, we believed that human history was a simple story. Homo sapiens evolved in Africa, spread across the world, and replaced all other ancient human species. But new discoveries are proving that story wrong. In West Africa, scientists have uncovered evidence of a long-lost species that interbred with modern humans tens of thousands of years ago. Unlike Neanderthals or Denisovans, this species has no name, no bones, and no fossils. Only genetic traces hidden in the DNA of millions of West Africans today. And the deeper scientists dig, the more they realize just how much of our past remains undiscovered. This discovery came from an analysis of modern genomes, where researchers at UCLA found something completely unexpected: segments of DNA that didn't match any known human group. These fragments didn't come from Neanderthals or Denisovans. but from an entirely different branch of the human family tree. A population that lived, thrived, and disappeared without leaving a single physical trace. And yet, their DNA still exists, making up anywhere from 2% to 19% of the genetic material in some West African populations. The existence of this ghost population suggests something groundbreaking. Ancient humans in Africa were not isolated. Just like their counterparts in Europe and Asia, early Homo sapiens in West Africa were encountering and mating with other human species. But while Neanderthals and Denisovans have been extensively studied, this group remains a mystery. Who were they? Where did they live? And why did they disappear? One of the biggest clues comes from how their genes have survived for tens of thousands of years. Usually, when two species mix, natural selection removes weaker genetic traits over time. But in this case, some of these ancient genes were passed down for thousands of generations. This means they may have provided real advantages, possibly shaping immunity, metabolism, or even resistance to certain diseases. Scientists have already identified genes linked to immune responses and metabolism that seem to have originated from this unknown species. Could it be that this ancient interbreeding played a direct role in shaping the survival of modern West Africans? But perhaps the biggest revelation of all is what this tells us about Africa's genetic diversity. We often think of Africa as one monolithic genetic group, but in reality, it is the most genetically diverse place on Earth. Scientists now believe that there were multiple lost human species in Africa, and we are only just beginning to uncover their stories. Unlike Neanderthals, who are well documented in European and Asian fossils, Africa's humid climate has made it almost impossible to preserve ancient bones. That's why, despite Africa being the birthplace of modern humans, its ancient history remains one of the biggest mysteries in science. Now, genetic research is changing everything. Scientists no longer need fossils to study human history. DNA itself is a record of the past. This means we are on the brink of discoveries that could completely rewrite the story of human evolution. If one unknown species left its mark on West Africans, how many more might be waiting to be found? Some experts believe that even more ancient human groups once lived and mixed in Africa, and that future discoveries will reveal just how complex our ancestry truly is. West Africa holds a forgotten chapter of human history, one that is only now coming to light. The question is, how many more secrets are waiting to be uncovered? As genetic technology advances, we may soon discover that the true story of human evolution is far more intricate, far more fascinating, and far more unexpected than we ever imagined. For decades, scientists have studied ancient human relatives like Neanderthals and Denisovans, piecing together the story of how modern humans evolved. But in West Africa, a discovery has shaken up everything we thought we knew. Hidden inside the DNA of millions of people today is the genetic imprint of an ancient species, one that has no name, no known fossils, and no physical evidence. It existed, it thrived, and it left its mark on human history. Yet, we are only beginning to understand who they were and what role they played in shaping modern West Africans. The first clue came when researchers analyzed DNA from populations in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. They expected to find the usual traces of human evolution, but instead, they uncovered something shocking: entire sections of DNA that didn't match any known species. These genetic fragments weren't from Neanderthals, nor from Denisovans, but from an unknown, separate branch of the human family tree. This wasn't just a minor anomaly. Up to 19% of West African DNA is linked to this lost species, suggesting that their existence was far more significant than previously imagined. This discovery raises profound questions. Who were these people? How long did they coexist with early Homo sapiens? And why did they vanish? The genetic evidence suggests that they diverged from the modern human lineage hundreds of thousands of years ago, long before Neanderthals or Denisovans even appeared. Yet, at some point, their paths crossed with early West Africans, leading to interbreeding that still leaves an impact today. One of the most intriguing aspects of this discovery is its potential impact on human adaptation. Genetic material from this lost species has been linked to immune system functions, metabolic processes, and possibly even resistance to diseases. This means that, just as Neanderthal DNA influenced the traits of Europeans and Asians, This ancient species may have left genetic signatures that helped West Africans survive and thrive in their environments. The real question is, how deeply has this ghost DNA shaped modern populations? But there's another mystery. Why don't we have fossils of this species? Unlike Neanderthals, whose remains have been found across Europe and Asia, Africa's hot, humid climate destroys ancient bones over time, erasing physical traces of early humans. This has left African prehistory shrouded in uncertainty, with vast chapters of human evolution missing. But now, thanks to cutting-edge genetic techniques, we no longer need bones to uncover history. DNA itself has become the key to unlocking our forgotten past. What makes this discovery even more groundbreaking is the implication that this was not an isolated event. If one unknown species interbred with early West Africans, there may have been other ancient human species lost to time. Scientists now believe that multiple hominin groups once roamed Africa, mingling and exchanging genes in ways that we are only just beginning to uncover. The more we study modern African DNA, the more hidden stories come to light. The implications of this research go far beyond just one unknown species. It forces us to rethink the entire timeline of human evolution. If this ghost population left such a deep genetic mark, how many more human ancestors are waiting to be found? With every new genetic study, the map of our past is expanding, revealing a history more complex, more intricate, and more mysterious than we ever imagined. West African DNA is a time capsule of secrets, holding evidence of a species we never knew existed. But this is just the beginning. As science advances, we may soon uncover even more lost ancestors, ones that have been hiding in plain sight all along. For centuries, Africa has been known as the birthplace of humanity. But beneath the surface of what we thought we knew, a deeper, more complex story is emerging, one that challenges everything we believed about early humans. Hidden inside the DNA of millions of West Africans today is evidence of an ancient species that left no trace, no bones, no artifacts, nothing but its genetic imprint. And yet it was real. It lived, it thrived, and it interbred with modern humans, leaving behind a legacy that still shapes people today. The genetic fingerprints of this lost species were discovered when scientists studied DNA from populations in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. They expected to find the usual markers of human ancestry, but instead, they stumbled upon something shocking: entire sections of DNA that didn't match any known group. This wasn't Neanderthal DNA. It wasn't Denisovan DNA. It belonged to a species that scientists never even knew existed. This species branched off from the human evolutionary tree hundreds of thousands of years ago, existing at a time before even the Neanderthals. But instead of remaining isolated, it came into contact with early humans in West Africa. The result? Interbreeding that left behind a genetic signature still present in modern populations today. Up to 19% of the DNA in some West Africans comes from this unknown species, making it clear that they weren't just a small group passing through. They were a significant part of the ancient world. But what did this interbreeding mean for the people who came after? Scientists believe that some of this ancient DNA may have influenced immunity, metabolism, and even adaptation to different environments. This isn't just about history. It's about how people's bodies function today. Just as Neanderthal DNA shaped the traits of Europeans and Denisovans influenced the genetics of people in Oceania, this lost species may have played a critical role in shaping modern West Africans. Yet, there is no physical evidence of their existence. No skulls, no tools, no burial sites. The reason? Africa's climate is one of the most unforgiving for fossil preservation. Unlike Europe, where Neanderthal remains have been found in caves and frozen tundras, the heat and humidity of West Africa cause organic materials to decay too quickly for bones to survive. This means that, until now, these ancestors remained invisible, their existence hidden within modern genomes. And here's where the mystery deepens. This might not be the only lost species. Scientists now suspect that Africa was once home to multiple unknown human groups, all interacting, interbreeding, and leaving behind pieces of themselves in different populations. The human evolutionary story is not as simple as one species replacing another. It's a complex web of interactions that shaped the people living today in ways we are only beginning to understand. With every breakthrough in genetic research, we get closer to uncovering the full scope of these lost ancestors. What else is hiding in the DNA of modern Africans? How many more species came before us, only to disappear without a trace? One thing is certain, this discovery is just the beginning. The true story of human evolution is far from complete, and the next chapters are waiting to be uncovered. For years, scientists have searched for the missing pieces of human history, fossils, bones, and tools that tell the story of where we came from. But what if some of the most important clues have been hiding in our own DNA all along? In West Africa, genetic research has revealed something extraordinary. Traces of an ancient species that no longer exists, yet its DNA still lives on in millions of people today. Unlike Neanderthals and Denisovans, this species has left behind no physical evidence, only genetic fragments passed down through generations, waiting to be discovered. This groundbreaking revelation was made when scientists studied DNA from populations in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. They expected to see the usual genetic patterns, but instead, they found something that didn't belong. Entire sections of DNA had no known match to any existing human group. This wasn't DNA from Neanderthals, Denisovans, or any other species that science had identified before. It was something else, something completely unknown. The genetic evidence suggests that this lost species split from the human evolutionary tree between 360,000 and 1 million years ago. Then, sometime between 43,000 and 124,000 years ago, early humans in West Africa encountered and interbred with them. The result? Up to 19% of modern West African DNA can be traced back to this mysterious species. This discovery changes everything we thought we knew about how early humans interacted and evolved. But here's the real question. What happened to them? Why did this species vanish while modern humans survived? Some scientists believe climate change, disease, or competition may have wiped them out. Others suggest that instead of going extinct, they may have been completely absorbed into modern human populations through continuous interbreeding. The truth is, we don't know yet. But what we do know is that their DNA didn't disappear. It was passed down, generation after generation, and is still present in millions of people today. One of the biggest implications of this discovery is what it tells us about genetic adaptation. Scientists have identified certain genes from this lost species that may have played a role in immunity, metabolism, and resistance to diseases. These genes didn't just survive by accident. They may have provided real advantages that help people thrive in their environment. The most puzzling part of this mystery is that we have no fossils, no bones, no artifacts to confirm their existence. In Europe and Asia, Neanderthal and Denisovan remains have been uncovered, giving scientists a clear picture of what these ancient humans looked like. But in Africa, where the climate is much harsher on organic material, ancient bones decay before they can be preserved. That's why this species remained undetected for so long. It wasn't until scientists began looking at DNA itself that they realized an entire population had been missing from the fossil record. And this discovery raises an even bigger question. How many more lost species are still hidden in our DNA? If this unknown group left such a strong genetic impact, could there be others that we haven't identified yet? Some researchers believe this is only the beginning, and that future studies will reveal even more lost branches of the human family tree. West African DNA holds secrets that could change everything we thought we knew about our past. This isn't just about a single discovery. It's about rewriting the history of human evolution. What else is waiting to be uncovered? The answers might be closer than we think. For decades, scientists have tried to piece together the puzzle of human evolution using fossils, but in West Africa, a different kind of evidence has rewritten history. Not bones, not tools, but DNA itself. Hidden in the genetic code of millions of West Africans today is the signature of an ancient species that no longer exists, a group that lived, thrived, and disappeared without leaving a single trace, except in the people who walk among us now. This discovery came when researchers analyzed the DNA of hundreds of individuals from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. They expected to find the usual genetic markers of human ancestry, but instead, they uncovered something shocking: entire sections of DNA that didn't match any known human group. It wasn't from Neanderthals, it wasn't from Denisovans, and it wasn't from any species we've ever identified before. It belonged to a completely unknown hominin, one that has never been seen in the fossil record. This lost species is believed to have branched off from the human evolutionary tree over 600,000 years ago. Then, sometime between 43,000 and 124,000 years ago, their paths crossed with early humans in West Africa. These groups didn't just coexist, they interbred, and the genetic legacy of that ancient encounter is still visible today. Up to 19% of some West African DNA can be traced back to this mysterious ancestor. But if this species was real, why haven't we found its fossils? The answer lies in Africa's harsh climate. In regions like Europe and Asia, cooler temperatures and dry conditions help preserve Neanderthal and Denisovan bones for thousands of years. But in Africa, heat, moisture, and acidic soil cause organic material to decompose rapidly. This means that many early human species may have existed in Africa, but left behind no skeletal evidence. They lived, they mixed with modern humans, and they disappeared, leaving only their DNA as proof. What's even more fascinating is that some of this ancient DNA may have played a crucial role in survival. Certain genetic traits found in modern West Africans appear to have originated from this unknown species. These genes may have influenced immune system function, metabolism, and even adaptation to tropical climates. Just as Neanderthal DNA influenced European and Asian populations, this lost African species may have shaped the traits of millions of people alive today. But this discovery is just the beginning. If one unknown species left its mark on human DNA, how many more could be hidden in our genes? Africa has the greatest human genetic diversity on Earth, and scientists now believe that multiple lost human species once lived and interbred on the continent. We are only beginning to scratch the surface of a much larger, more complex story of human evolution. This research forces us to rethink everything we thought we knew. Human evolution wasn't a straight line, it was a web, with different species meeting, mixing, and influencing one another in ways we never imagined. And while the fossils may be lost to time, DNA is allowing us to uncover the past in a way we never thought possible. West African DNA holds the key to a hidden chapter in human history. But this is just the start. What else is waiting to be found? Science is only now beginning to unlock the answers. For centuries, the story of human evolution was thought to be simple. Modern humans emerged in Africa and slowly spread across the world. But new discoveries are proving that the reality is far more complex. In West Africa, researchers have uncovered genetic evidence of an entirely unknown species of ancient humans, a group that left no bones, no artifacts, and no written history. Yet, their DNA still exists today, hidden inside millions of people. This breakthrough came when scientists analyzed genetic samples from populations in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. Instead of finding only the usual markers of human ancestry, they discovered mysterious DNA fragments that didn't match any known species. These genetic sequences weren't from Neanderthals or Denisovans, the two archaic human species already known to have interbred with Homo sapiens. Instead, they pointed to a lost branch of the human family tree, one that had remained undetected for thousands of years. The evidence suggests that this unknown species split from the human lineage over 600,000 years ago. Then, tens of thousands of years ago, they encountered early modern humans in West Africa and interbred with them. The traces of that ancient mixing are still present today, making up between 2% and 19% of the DNA in some West African populations. This wasn't just a single event. It may have happened multiple times over a long period, shaping the genetic landscape of West Africa in ways that scientists are only now beginning to understand. One of the most fascinating aspects of this discovery is its impact on human adaptation. Genetic material from this ancient species may have helped early humans survive in the environment of West Africa. Some of the DNA linked to this ghost species appears to play a role in immune system function, resistance to diseases, and even metabolism. These genetic advantages may have allowed early humans in Africa to thrive where others could not. But the biggest mystery remains: who were these people? Unlike Neanderthals, whose remains have been found across Europe, or Denisovans, identified through fossil evidence in Siberia and Tibet, this lost African species has left no physical trace. The reason is likely due to Africa's harsh climate, which destroys organic material before it can be preserved. Without bones or fossils, their existence remained hidden, until now. And this discovery raises an even bigger question. If this unknown species left its mark on human DNA, could there be others waiting to be found? Africa has the greatest genetic diversity in the world, and scientists now believe that multiple unknown human species may have lived and interbred on the continent. The story of human evolution isn't a simple timeline. It's a complex web of interactions between different groups, many of which have yet to be identified. Genetic research is changing the way we understand our past. Instead of relying solely on fossils, scientists can now uncover lost chapters of human history using DNA alone. And this is just the beginning. With every new discovery, the story of who we are becomes even more intricate and fascinating. West African DNA holds secrets that could completely reshape our understanding of human evolution. What else is hidden in our genes, waiting to be discovered? The answers may be closer than we ever imagined. For centuries, Africa has been recognized as the cradle of humanity. But even now, its genetic history is revealing secrets that challenge everything we thought we knew. Scientists have uncovered evidence of an unknown ancient human species that once lived in West Africa, a species that left behind no fossils, no tools, and no visible traces. Yet, its DNA still exists today, carried by millions of West Africans. This discovery is forcing us to rethink the entire timeline of human evolution. The breakthrough came when geneticists analyzed DNA samples from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. What they found was astonishing: large segments of genetic material that didn't match any known human lineage. These weren't fragments from Neanderthals or Denisovans, whose interbreeding with Homo sapiens is already well documented. Instead, they belong to an entirely separate and previously unidentified human species. According to scientists, this species split from our evolutionary line hundreds of thousands of years ago. Then, at some point between 43,000 and 124,000 years ago, it interbred with early modern humans in West Africa. Today, up to 19% of some West Africans' DNA can be traced back to this lost species. This wasn't just a brief encounter. It was a long and complex interaction that left a lasting genetic impact. One of the biggest questions is why this species disappeared. Some researchers believe climate change, competition, or disease may have led to their extinction. But there's also another possibility. Instead of dying out, they may have been fully absorbed into modern human populations. Unlike Neanderthals, who left behind physical remains in Europe, this group may have blended so completely with early West Africans that they vanished without a trace, except in DNA. Even more intriguing is how this ancient DNA may have influenced modern humans. Some of these genetic fragments appear to be linked to immune system function, metabolism, and resistance to certain diseases. This suggests that the genetic exchange between early Homo sapiens and this lost species may have played a direct role in shaping human survival in West Africa. But the biggest challenge in solving this mystery is the lack of fossils. Unlike Europe and Asia, where cooler climates help preserve ancient bones for thousands of years, Africa's tropical environment makes fossilization extremely rare. This means that entire species could have lived, evolved, and disappeared without leaving any physical evidence behind. Without skeletons or artifacts, scientists must rely entirely on genetics to piece together the story. And this discovery raises an even more important question. If this unknown species existed, could there be others we haven't found yet? Africa is the most genetically diverse region on Earth, and many researchers now believe that multiple unknown hominin species once lived and interbred with early humans on the continent. We are only beginning to uncover the layers of complexity in our evolutionary past. Genetics is allowing us to explore human history in ways that were once impossible. Instead of relying solely on fossils, scientists can now look inside our DNA to find evidence of lost ancestors. And with every new study, we get closer to understanding the full story of human evolution, one that is far more intricate than we ever imagined. West African DNA holds the key to an ancient mystery that is only now being unraveled. How many more forgotten human species are hidden within our genes? Science is just beginning to uncover the truth.